My last experience, I woke up in sleep paralysis in my room and there was a being next to me. My eyes were closed, but I felt them there. I was trying to get out of my body. They placed their hand on my forehead and they slightly tilted my head backwards. And as they did that, my chest raised slightly and I very easily hovered out my body. And as they did that, the wormhole started appearing in my room again. But this time it was golden. And I felt the physical warmth shining through onto my soul's body. And it was just so real. And I was excited, but I was also like, I'm not sure if you're ready. And I was like, okay, let's go. Let's go. This being here made me feel warm, loved, welcome. So I was like, let's go.
What if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. Welcome back to Beyond the Frequency 369. I'm your host, Cesar Pagan, and I'm talking to Soul Wanderer Sasha. And what's cool about Soul Wanderer Sasha is that we resonate on the topics of remembering who you truly are before the world convinces you otherwise. He's also an outer body explorer. He's had his own experiences. And on his YouTube channel, which we'll promote here right on the description and also on your screen, you guys can hear him talking about his experiences, his understandings, what he aligns with, and also he has amazing guests who come on his show to also share their point of views as well. So without further ado, Sasha, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm really excited actually. I feel privileged to be on because the more like I've kind of listened to you, I feel like we really do align. I love your message. I love your truth. And yeah, I'm excited to have the conversation.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. And I mentioned this to a lot of my guests, the time that you take to sit here and speak with me, it's a gift. You're gifting me your time. And a lot of folks don't realize that how valuable that is and how precious that is, because that's a conscious choice. You know what I mean? You could be doing anything else in the world. So again, from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the audience that's hearing this playback, thank you for your time. Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on as well. Like you said there, it's not just us that connect, it's everyone listening as well. So yeah, it's a special moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sasha, introduce yourself briefly here to the audience, because one of the main things is when I have a new guest on the show that hasn't been on the show prior to this, I want my audience to get to know you first, get an idea of who you were before you got into the awakening, into the esoteric knowledge, became a truth seeker, before all of that. There was something, an identity that was given to you, right? By your family, by your culture, by your environment. Give us a little bit of an idea of who that Sasha was, so that way we can move into the meat and potatoes and understand where you're at today.
Okay. I was born in England, UK, but my family's from the former Yugoslavia. So they're originally from Croatia, Montenegro, and Serbia. So I was kind of brought up in a Christian Orthodox household, but my parents were very open. They kind of wanted to keep the traditional stuff, but they also allowed me to have a space where I could think for myself. So I got brought up in the Christian Orthodox side. However, I found that from a very young age, I was passionate about something that I could feel deep within me that I didn't know what it was. It was philosophical. It was a deep desire to know. to know more, to know me, to know truth. So I kind of grew up average household, average kind of middle class family, average school, average friends. I don't like using the word average, but what I'm saying is this: I was kind of in the middle. It's kind of in the middle there. So I kind of grew up, and I wanted to find out who I was, what this was. I always had that urge, I always had that feeling and that knowing that there was something more. And I found out as I was getting older that I kind of was the only person in my circle that was asking these questions. So yeah, that's kind of me. I was just an inquisitive child who was open to explore, and I thank my parents for that. That's kind of who I am. Before we get into the meat and stuff, what I do want to say is at 4 years old, I did experience sleep paralysis for the first time. And I don't know if that has anything to do with me being inquisitive. I think it was a mixture between that and the openness that my parents allowed me to have.
Yeah, that does. I think everything that happens to you, every experience, it's preparing you for something, even if it's for a slight moment, right? Even if it's something that just kind of passed you by, it needed to pass you by to just kind of call your attention real quick to it, and usually a lot of these past experiences, they come back to you in the future in a different way, present to you in a different way that you now understand into where you're able to say, oh, that might explain why this happened to me, X amount of years ago. So, and the fact that you mentioned, which is great, that your parents were so open to let you just expand your awareness, your consciousness, your understanding of things. What a kudos to your parents for that. A lot of, you've probably seen and experienced a lot of other parents. They're telling their children, this is who you are because you're part of this family, you're part of this community. This is your identity. Here, take it, and if you question that identity, you're wrong, or you'll be punished, or you're going to go to hell, or whatever the case is, right? So I'm glad that you had the opportunity, Sasha, to grow, not only spiritually, but also during your human experience. So good to meet you on that.
Yeah.
So Sasha, why don't you talk to me about your awakening moment? Everybody has that moment where they feel like that was the turning point. Something had happened that made you really say, you know what? Now I'm starting on this path. Now I'm going down the rabbit hole. Can you talk to us about what that awakening moment was for you and what that experience felt like?
Yeah. It's kind of a big question because it was a big remembrance, or a big awakening. So like I said, I had that experience at 4 years old, but that carried on with me. I had sleep paralysis throughout my life to the point where at about 14 or 15, I kind of sat up and saw my body lying down. But that didn't change me. I put that to the back of my mind. But what I did find was that I was kind of knocking and searching more and more and more. And there was an experience at 21 years old, which I can only describe as a complete opening of my soul, an experience of infinite, limitless awareness, an experience of truth, an experience of me. It was hard at the time because when I was experiencing this, my identity, who I thought I was, Sasha, Christian Orthodox home, sister, mother, father, friends, life, reality, that just got dissolved in the moment. And I was just an infinite observer. I was going in and out of this kind of infinite dimension. And every time I was coming out of it and I was aware of my surroundings, I was changed. I was different. And this experience was a lot. It was like an 8-hour, well, it was kind of like an 8-hour experience, but that wasn't an 8-hour experience because the integration phase took years. It was a moment of complete and utter terror. And it also had a moment of complete and utter love and bliss and home. And obviously what I understand it now as is the void, is the true self, the unlimited, limitless potential, void of potential. That's what I experienced at 21, and that's what I would class as my catalyst to remembering.
No, that's beautiful, man. Let's break some of that down, though. You felt like your identity, who you thought you were as Sasha, that was it shattered completely? Was it just kind of peeled off for a temporarily? Like, are you the same Sasha that you were then now?
No, I'm not the same, and it's because I don't identify myself with human identity anymore. And that might sound scary, because it was for me. It's something I had to integrate. But what I found it was my human mind trying to cling to identity. So you asked if it happened in stages or if it happened all at once. I'd say it happened all at once, but for the hours that I was experiencing this, I was trying to cling on to my identity. I was trying to cling on to Sasha. I was trying to cling on to my likes, dislikes, hobbies, what I thought I was, my thoughts. I thought I was my thoughts, my inner voice. I was trying to cling on to all of that.
Why do you think in that moment, why do you think that you felt like you need to cling on to your identity then?
Fear. I didn't want to lose myself, which is what I perceived that would happen. It was complete fear, complete terror. My human mind didn't want to dissolve. My human mind was clinging on every single opportunity it could to try and catch an identity within infinity, which I know now it's not possible, because what you truly are is the infinite. But yeah, it was fear.
No, I like that. So I guess one of the first obvious questions that I would ask you is how, if you don't identify yourself as human, then what would you identify yourself as?
Maybe that come across wrong. I am all for being 100% human now. I am for being human, but I don't identify myself with the human. I identify myself as the unlimited expression of source. And what I realized was, and what my integration journey has been, is bringing my unlimited expression of source into the human, so that the unlimited expression of source can experience the human experience. And this is what I've found my true self is. It's not Sasha. It's not my likes, dislikes. That is all a human box that we place ourselves in that limits us. And it's not who we are. Right. We're unlimited. We're limitless.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally resonate with what you're talking about. So, because as omnipotent, spiritual, untouchable beings that we truly are, in the essence for, when we come here as humans, or to be humans, we forget that we are these omnipotent beings. So what you're doing is you're consciously aware that you understand that this is just the experience, but you're more than that. And you're bringing that awareness into this human experience, so you can do both. You can have the human experience. It's like, what's a good metaphor for this stuff? I can't think of one right now. I usually can, but the point is that you're not just identifying as the body. Okay. Which most folks, they identify as just the body. I'm just this person. Okay. But you're understanding that you're a little bit more than just that. And that's good. A lot of folks that are listening right now identify with what you said. And so it's fine. It's not weird, and you're not coming off wrong. I also want to point out, I love your hat, by the way. Did you create that hat?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Thank you.
You are God's. I love it. I love it. And I love the fact you can say, I'm a God. Like you can say that, but then people are going to start, outside of you without understanding. They're going to judge and be like, this guy is right. But the fact that you're reminding folks in a nice, subtle way I think that's the intention. You're a guide. If they're interested, they'll ask you. If they're not, they're just, okay, whatever. Cool hat, bro. And they'll keep going. But then there's those few that will read that and they're gonna know. They're gonna like, yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And I love that hat. Are you selling that hat? You got merch?
So if I'm honest, I could. I've got a small website, but only I buy from it. I buy my own merch. I don't advertise it. I don't, because
Okay.
I've come to this kind of feeling where I don't like wearing other people's clothing if it's not sending a good message. So I haven't created this to create a big website to sell merchandise. I've created this for me. I walk around in these clothes. I've got jumpers, hoodies, t-shirts, hats, and I wear them every day. And it's for what you said. And there's even people that are in the in-between state where they might be like, what does that mean? And that might set off kind of a little.
There it is. Yeah, you are doing, as we all know, the great work, and in your way, you're doing the work, man. That's a beautiful thing. I just want to I saw that as soon as we came online, I was like, yeah, I like his hat. I love his hat and everything. No, that's interesting. I actually I commend you, to have your own like products and you're making them for yourself. Yeah. That's cool. I love that. But just in case if anybody was just interested and they saw your hat, I had to put that out there. And if they want to reach you, they can reach you and figure that out and stuff too. I love that. So, all right, Sasha, talk to me about an experience that you had that's probably still lingering in your mind, that you're still trying to work out. You're on the path to try to find the answers to. What's your current passion? What are you drawn to right now?
Okay, so up until this year, I was integrating my experience and fear and understanding fear. So I'm very big on the integration and the relationship that people have with fear. So spontaneously this year, I had a weekly experiences of lucid dreams, out of body experiences, sleep paralysis states. And it's my understanding that that's my soul preparing me, training me, allowing me to remember whatever it can. This has happened so frequently that I kind of reached out because I felt like I needed to speak to someone about it. So I reached out to someone online who's got a channel, and they had me on. And I spoke to them because I just needed to kind of get this out with no thought as to what would happen. And the people that resonated after watching my my conversation was just it was like I felt like I helped people. So that's kind of set me on a journey to create a YouTube, to create a Patreon, to create a guide, to help people integrate fear and to help people remember who they are. So that's kind of that journey everything has happened this year, and it's literally like I have become aligned with my soul and I have become a witness to life rather than making life happen. I haven't tried to do anything. I've surrendered, I've accepted, I've trusted, and things have just lined up. And now this is what I'm teaching people. But I had to say that because what your question was my latest experience, and this kind of all links. So I had all of these happen this year. Yeah. And what I've got kind of shown was that I'm through lucid dreams and inner outer body experiences and outer body experiences. It's hard to talk about it with labels, but I've kind of got shown that I'm a multidimensional self. I've kind of got shown that I have parallel lives that I can access. I've got kind of shown that this is what I need to kind of, I feel like I'm helping people ground between experiences, and I'm helping people remember between experiences and stay focused and calm and relaxed and surrender. But my latest big experience, I'm going to rewind if I can because it'll make a bit more sense.
No, you're fine. You're completely fine. And I wanna. You mentioned a couple of things. You mentioned about we're multidimensional beings and things like that. Like, let's talk about that too, because some of the folks that are also tuning in might be tuning in for the first time, and I know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? But from your words, because everybody hears me talking here, right? From your words, while you're telling your experience and your story, let us know, what do you believe is a multi-dimensional being? What's that? And then also, what do you think when you say that we're more than just this body? In your words, what does that mean to you? What do you think we are, in the best way that you can explain it? I know it's not easy, but just let's have that conversation.
Yeah, it's a very, very good and very loaded question. Okay, so all right, let's start with this. So I call it an oversoul. I've only ever heard, and very recently heard, one person talk about this. And I was surprised that they use this word because it's what I call it. So there's an aspect of us that's an oversoul. And this oversoul is an accumulation of many souls. And that's what the multidimensional self is. You're the oversoul, but you're experiencing multiple versions of yourself in different experiences. I come to this conclusion because I've accessed some of those, and I've also been made aware of a space where they all sit for me. Yeah, so what I believe we are, because it's different to the oversoul, that's just an aspect of us. What we are is just pure awareness. We are unique perspectives of the all. So you can say soul, you can start with human, and you can say soul, then you can say oversoul, and you can even go further and further. I like to break this down as simply as I can. And I like to say that we are a unique expression of source, which is pure awareness. And each state, each human, soul, oversoul, each state is just a more focused and stabilized form of awareness.
I like that. So we're multi-dimensional beings. We live in all timelines, all realities, all dimensions, all realms. We live in all that simultaneously as we're existing right now. We live in all of that. So this is what you were saying, how you're able to access all of these because those versions of you exist. They're available. They're you can consciously make yourself aware of those entities or versions of you, I should say, and vice versa. So let me ask you this: when it comes to thought, when you have an idea, when you have a dream, something that you're drawn to, like, hey, I want to be a pilot, or I want to be, a scuba diver, or whatever the case is. When you're drawn to these passions, do you think that is coming from just you, Sasha, right now in this awareness, or do you think that you're picking up the passion or identity of another version of yourself that's already doing these things? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. What I'd say is you'd have to pay close attention to your thoughts and your inner voice to differentiate. So I think that part of that would be to do with the thoughts and inner voice based on your subconscious, and it's not really what you want or what you should experience. I'm not saying you shouldn't experience it if you want to experience what you want, but I think your intuition is what you really need to follow. I think that your thoughts, they're not you. Your inner voice is not you, but they can influence you. So you can experience what you want to experience by being influenced by your thoughts. But what you should really be experiencing is what your intuition tells you. And that is a deep gut knowing. And yes, surrender and trust to that deep gut knowing is what allows you to experience what you're meant to. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah. No, I love it. I appreciate that. Let's talk about fear, right? Fear and loss. You and I both know that it's the primary tool that is being used to control us. Can you expand a little bit more on your thoughts and perspective of what's fear? How does it affect the human experience, and how do you deal with that in your own life?
Okay. I love this question. I'm glad you asked it because I've spent kind of 12 years dissecting fear. And I do think that it's definitely been misunderstood. So there could be, I stay away from this subject, but there could be entities, beings, humans that are using fear to keep people from not remembering. But this is why I teach what fear actually is. And fear is love disguised. Fear is love wearing a mask. I see fear as a tool that the soul uses until you're ready to remember. That's what I see fear as. And as long as you identify fear and don't understand it, you're going to be trapped. And I don't mean that in a scary way. I mean, you're never going to let go and trust your soul and trust what's supposed to unfold for you if you're trapped in fear. If you understand that emotions are love disguised, then I think you can change your relationship with fear. I've understood, especially. So I'll give you some examples instead of me just kind of talking about it. I had sleep paralysis my whole life. There's been experiences where I've seen beings and shadow beings and I was terrified of them. And then later on in life, there's been experiences where I've realized I can change what they look like. I can tell them to go. So that straight away to me is, okay, that's thought forms based on my fear. But what I've found is fear is an actual doorway. It's the moment where your awareness can expand if you treat it right. Fear is a doorway, and like I said, I do see it as a form of love. People will not use it obviously in that way, but if you understand that fear is just love, that's waiting for you to love it back and waiting for you to trust it rather than being scared of it, it will go. It will go, and you will expand. And that's what I'm trying to teach people.
I love the way that you explained it because it definitely aligned. Fear is a doorway. Imagine if those that understand what fear is and are still trying to control everyone else, they're going to tell you that door, don't go through it. It's horrible. They're going to tell you everything that would bring you so far away from it. Things that people are taught today through movies, through stories about certain entities. These are demonic, and these are all they're going to hurt you and things like that. That whole teaching is giving people the wrong idea or thought on what that is. I talked to a good friend of mine. I don't know if you probably know him, Bam Heck.
I've seen some videos.
Him? You've seen him. We had a conversation once. I don't know if it was online or on an interview, whatever the case was. But he mentioned something about him having an experience and how he outer body, and he would run into these dark entities and stuff. And then one day he had a realization that these dark entities were still from the same essence, which is love, right? They were just so far away from love that they lost their way and they lost their light, and this is why they're so dark. And the reason that they were being attracted back to him was because he was light. If you lose your way, you're gonna try to find your way back. So what he ended up doing was, instead of shunning them away, he would actually open his arms, shine his light bright, and absorb them. This is through his outer body experience, and transmute their dark energy back into the original light energy and shoot him out. And when he mentioned that to me, I was like, that's it. That's exactly it. We to how you say, to understand of how powerful you are, to accept, that you are a light being, and then to understand what that dark being is, what it's always been. And you mentioned about fear being a mask of love. That's the same concept, you know. But when he mentioned to me in those words that any dark entity is that same love essence, just so far away from its light source, it just rang a bell for me, man. I was like, yeah, what are your thoughts on that comment?
I mean, that is beautiful what Bam's doing there. Yeah. Kudos to him for doing that. That's amazing. So for me, people talk about unconditional love and everything is love. And then people who haven't experienced that, they just like, yeah, is it really though? But it is, because the foundation is love, and everything else that comes from that foundation is everything else. It's your anger, your hate, your fear. Everything is just a mask of love. And once you deal with whatever type of emotion it is, you find yourself in love again. It's because love is always there. It's always there. Everything else is just your confusion and your fear, and you're not remembering who you are, because what you are is love. The foundation of everything is love, and it's because everything's connected. This is why it's so important to love yourself so much, because who else is going to love you besides you? And the void, source, creation, it's all one thing. I know there's unique perspectives, unique lenses, but it's all one thing. And that's why if it love itself fully and wholly, that would make sense for love to be the foundation. So we need to do that as well.
Yeah, I love that. Let me ask you this, because you mentioned about loving yourself, and that's so important. A lot of people don't know that that's the place where you start, in loving yourself. By loving yourself, you start to get to know yourself better. So for those that are listening, what's something that you apply on your day-to-day to remind yourself that you are love and to love yourself? How do you do that?
So this is about remembering. So be you, be whoever you feel deep down that you want, that you should be, that you are. Be you firstly, and love you, and love your flaws, love everything about yourself, love even the bad things the bad thoughts, love everything, and just understand that it's all okay. So that's what I do. I don't identify with bad thoughts. I accept them and allow them, and understand that that's noise based on my subconscious. Just let that flow. If a thought comes that aligns with me, great. That's actually what I believe. But this is why it's important to become aware of your thoughts and the space, especially the space in between the thoughts, because that's where the real magic is. But yeah, just give yourself a break. Let go. Allow yourself to be human in the whole spectrum of it, the volatility of it. Love the bad moments, love the good moments. Just love the experience, because this is so short. And we're here to experience. We're not here to think about it, not here to be scared about it. So that's the advice I'd give. If you was to ask me, how do you love yourself? I'd say, accept yourself.
Yeah. Be the authentic you, right? You can. There's no other choice. Beautifully said. I appreciate that. A lot of people that are listening are probably currently going through their own journey, like we all have gone through. They're going through their own journey and they're figuring things out. But along that path, the support system that we all used to have might not be there at the very end of that journey. So we end up starting to lose family and friends, people that meant something to you at some point. How have you dealt with that in your life? Have you lost people while you were on your journey? And if so, how have you dealt with that to kind of reassure you that staying on this path is the right choice?
It's definitely harder I'm not saying it's not hard for me. It's definitely harder for some people though, because it depends on where they're at in their life in the moment. It depends on their mindset and and how they are. But for me, I allow myself, I have lost people. I allow myself to grieve. I allow myself to be human in the moment. I allow myself to feel everything that I need to feel. But at the same time, I also keep a knowing that they're not really gone. My idea of their identity is what's gone, but they never go. I understand awareness now and the mechanics of it. And I understand that their awareness has just shifted to another experience. That's it. So, but I don't want to be like, you can't feel this now. That their awareness, they're here forever. They've just shifted. Let go. No, be human and feel it and grieve. Get it out. Allow it to happen. Allow it to go through you. It's natural. At the end of the day, we are human. We are here having a human experience. So you need the body to purge. You need to purge. You need to feel it.
Have it.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, yeah. Have the human experience. Yeah. I mean, like what, I think it's ridiculous that, folks would think that, we're having the human experience, but then once you're aware that you're more than the body, then you start to just try to ignore or negate the human experience. No, like just be aware of it. Just be aware that that you are not the body. That's it. No one's telling you to like don't grieve, don't suffer, don't cry, don't rejoice, don't like. No one's saying that and everything. I've seen people who say that they've awakened, and then they start completely neglecting the human experience. And then all of a sudden, their path shifts a little bit off skewed, and they're not emerging. They're not being one with their emotions. They're kind of shutting things off. They're cutting people off. They're doing all of this, and it's like whoa, and that's their experience. Even that isn't even wrong. That's their experience and everything. But I've seen that, so I'm glad that you kind of clarified that to everybody. That grief, be human. Be authentic in everything that you're doing and that you're saying, even to the people that are no longer with you and stuff. So I appreciate you saying that. Sasha, what is something that you are currently working through? Like what's a challenge on your journey, right? What is it that you still maybe don't understand or just kind of feel a little bit lost about it? Like we share with us a little bit of your current struggle, so we know that you don't have all the answers.
Yeah, no. Okay. Well, I'm definitely human. I get frustrated. Sometimes I think, I shouldn't have done that. And then I think, no, you should. So I think probably the best, apart from I don't know how to word it, apart from my spiritual kind of side and my spiritual experiences, I'm kind of now trying to integrate allowing myself to fully be human and experience, because I know I teach this, but also I haven't fully done it. I just know that that's how it's done because of my experiences. So I'm still, and I'm not sure if like you said, there's no like perfect, this is all the answers. This is an infinite, unique journey forever for us to experience. So I don't think there is like an end. Well, there isn't. There's not an end. There's not a it all. And as soon as someone says this is the truth, this is how to be, they've limited infinity. They've limited the limitless. And that's so for me at the minute, I'm trying to give myself a break a bit more and how I think. But there's also something I'm dealing with in the background with my spiritual side as well. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that, or are you good? Please, yeah. What are you working on right now? Because we're all working on something, right? So
yeah. Okay, so let's give you a bit of background to lead up to where I am now. So there was a 4-year-old me that had sleep paralysis, and there was a shadow figure at the foot of my bed. I had sleep paralysis up until, well, I still get it. I had this big experience at 21 that opened me up to who I really am. And then this year I've had experiences that have allowed me to understand that I'm a multidimensional self, and that we are layers and aspects of awareness and unique lenses of source. So that said, when I had my experience at 21, there was a moment where I was aware of a black void, and in that black void there was a golden box floating, and I knew that if I opened that golden box, that I would kind of have all of the answers to my questions. It was just this deep knowing that scared me. I didn't open the box. It was golden. It was floating. That's never left me. And I've always had that in the back of my mind. What was that? What would have happened if I opened that box?
Let me interrupt you, Sasha. That, before you continue, when you say it's in the back of your mind, that moment, are we talking about regret? Do you feel a little bit of regret that for not opening it up?
No, I don't feel regret, because I wasn't in the right state. That what happened to me at 21 was, you could call it an awakening. It was a slap in the face. It was this is what you are now. Become who you're meant to be from this perspective. That's kind of what I got from it. That golden box moment, and you'll know why in a minute, was not meant to be opened in that moment. That moment showed me what true fear at a threshold means before true expansion. That's what that meant to me in that moment. So this year I've had all of these experiences, and basically I've been so I had a lucid dream where I called upon a wormhole for the first time, and I call it the Bifrost because it's got similar colors to the Bifrost Bridge in the Thor movies. I call it my Bifrost.
Love it, yeah.
So and it literally is, you can call it a portal. It's just a symbolic way of transferring your awareness into another experience. So anyway, this wormhole I've been using in my lucid dreams and out-of-body experiences to go into different experiences. I got taken to another life of mine. I got taken into a void where I saw all my lives as orbs in this white void. But this has never happened in sleep paralysis. This has all been through dream-induced OBEs and lucid dreams. I'm not sure if you've ever heard anyone talk about dream-induced OBEs. I'm not sure if I haven't, but
dream-induced OBEs. I might have an understanding of it. I might refer as something else. So can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So it's something I actually teach as well. So when you become aware in a lucid dream, there's things that you can do if you're not already a natural at it, where you can fully bring a lot of your awareness into that dream, and then that dream will shift. And I do class that as a very low spectrum OBE, but that's a gateway. From that point where you're in the lucid dream, where you've brought your awareness in and the dream shifts, you can then go through a doorway or a portal and then go into an OBE experience. And that's what I call a dream-induced out-of-body experience.
I got you now. Yeah, I'm aware of it then. Okay, I know what you mean then. Yeah, we've I've talked about it numerous times with folks about instead of going straight from going to sleep, going to the outer body, they actually are dreaming. They become lucid, and then they're like, they'll go to like a mirror or something, and then that's their portal to get out of that dimensional space, which is their dream state. And then now they're having their outer body experience in a different dimensional space. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
Right, please continue.
That's it. It's the same thing. A lot of this stuff in this community is like people say the same thing, but in different words. That's why I struggle with labels.
Yeah.
But...
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. So, where was that? Right. So I woke up once in sleep paralysis and the wormhole appeared above my body, and it kind of freaked me out because I thought this should only appear in my lucid dreams and in my dream-induced OBEs. So it kind of freaked me out that it was above my body in my bed. So I kind of closed my eyes and I let that go because I had fear in that moment. Like I said, I understand fear. I teach how to integrate fear, but I also fear. Sometimes I'm human. It happens and it's okay. Accept it.
Yeah.
So long story short, I'll cut a lot of the in-between stuff out. We can talk about it if you want, but my last big experience, should I say, was I woke up in sleep paralysis in my room. and there was a being next to me. My eyes were closed, but I felt them there. I was trying to get out of my body, and they placed their hand on my forehead and they slightly tilted my head backwards. And as they did that, my chest raised slightly and I very easily hovered out my body. So this could be a technique for people who are struggling, because what I learned in that moment was relax and let your chest kind of go out. I've always been very good at getting into sleep paralysis, but I have struggled with coming out of my body in sleep paralysis. And also a quick side note, you can go in through sleep paralysis and experience something that way. So this being tilted my head back and allowed me to come out. And as they did that, the wormhole started appearing in my room again. But this time it was golden, and I felt the physical warmth shining through onto my soul's body. And it was just so real. It was so real, and I was excited, but I was also like, I'm not sure if you're ready. And I was like, okay, let's go. This being here made me feel warm, loved, welcome. So I was like, let's go. And I just had this voice or this knowing, it was like internal, that said, you're not ready. And I kind of slowly came back into my body, and I woke up and I was so frustrated. So this is what I'm dealing with now in my spiritual life. But what this intuitive knowing that I've got is the being that I was terrified of at 4 years old at the foot of my bed was the same being that was next to me a few months back. That was loving. So this is another reason that I'm trying to teach about fear. Like, fears, you fear, you create fear. Fear isn't natural. Your soul isn't fearful. I've been in OBE states where fear just is non-existent. I naturally command my sovereignty. So this is what I'm dealing with at the moment, because I've had a child, my first, and I'm not getting much sleep, and I'm kind of struggling with, do I need to go through this now? Should it wait? But this is the human me, and I'm accepting it. And instead I've turned to being open to allowing this to happen whenever it's supposed to happen. But just quickly, the golden box is the golden wormhole.
So there's your tie-in there. So the golden wormhole, was it first presented to you as a golden box? Is that what we're saying here?
I'm saying that I know that if I'd have, even though I wouldn't have because that wasn't the right time for me, if I'd have opened that golden box, I'd have had a certain type of experience. And if I'd have entered the golden wormhole, I potentially would have had the similar type of experience.
Same deal. Okay, so it was presented to you in two different ways, but still with the same potential outcome. And this being that was there for you, which is a beautiful thing, because there's beings, even as you're where you're at and where I'm at, our friends, our beings, our soul partners are all here with us. And whether you're 4 years old or you're 21 years old, this being doesn't experience time like we're experiencing. So it's just there. It's just there, So in your 4 years, maybe you weren't ready for it or whatever the case is. At 21, maybe you weren't. Maybe 5-10 years from now, maybe next week, maybe tonight, but that soul being, that entity, is like, whenever you're ready, I'm like, I'll be here and stuff. And that's so important that you acknowledge that. And that you mentioned also that it made you feel, loved, because they're here to help. They're here to help. I mean, we talk about, when you're meditating, when you want to see who you truly are, when you want to get to know yourself, when you're trying to achieve a certain state of awareness, those beings are there to assist you. So you just ask. You literally just ask, help me. I need help. And they're there. So you're definitely working through all that. You understand all of that. It's a beautiful thing just to hear other people like yourself, just sharing that, because we're all talking the same thing. We're all starting to understand what's really happening. But in that understanding, we still have our challenges. It's like, what fear is, but you're still having to experience fear because you're human.
Exactly.
It's just like let's say, and I don't follow organized religion or anything like that, but I did come from a foundation of Christianity and things like that. But anyways, I do recognize the man Jesus, that existed. But just to use it as a metaphor, he, God's source, whatever the case is, created Jesus so he can experience what it is to be human, and to walk among men and things like that. But while God was having his human experience as Jesus or Yeshua, whatever the case is, that man was going through human things. Like he was, there was frustration, there was struggles, there were moments of he's like, can I do this? People are judging me. And then he would turn up to God and say, like, why am I doing this? Like, what? Like, I need help. But then he would then chuckle and realize, I'm talking to myself. I made the choice to have this human experience, and I'm going through it, but I'm also aware that whenever I'm asking for help, I'm asking for myself. Like I'm talking to myself, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are these omnipotent, godlike, beings. I know you said you don't use the word fractal, or I don't know, but we're a fractal of this big essence, right? And we're having this human experience, and sometimes we have our moments where we break, and we need help, and we're just talking back to ourselves, and it's a beautiful thing to just see it that particular way. And it's a fun ride, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a fun ride. I always say to people, love the volatility of life, because that's why we're here. Like, that's why we're here. We're focused into this experience to have this experience. People do talk a lot about being trapped, but you're not trapped. The only thing that traps you here is you believing you're your identity. That's the only thing that will trap you here. Like, if you let that go, you can literally experience this place and be free the way you meant to.
Yeah. I don't believe in that trap mindset either. The whole trap prison planet stuff. That's again putting a label on something to then create your own cage and stuff. I also in my understanding, when I've had my OBEs, I know that people say when you leave your body and you're in that space, you're home, right? I don't even fully believe that we're home. We're just in a different dimensional space. If we're not in the body, we're just out of the body, but we're still in some kind of a different space within our own awareness, our own consciousness, right? So like there is, I don't think we're fully home until we are back with full, with source, like back up there. So if, let's say, just to put context in things, if there's levels to this thing and we're down here at the low level, I can't say I'm home yet. When I go up one level, I'm not home yet. I'm just on a different experience. I'm lighter. I might look different. I might have abilities, but I'm not there yet. So I'm aware where home is per se, but I know I'm not there yet. I know that I decided to get on that train, go way far away from home so I can have this journey, so I can come back and understand myself in the totality of what I truly am.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're all doing.
Yeah. You're experiencing yourself from this perspective at the minute. I would add though, you definitely, in my opinion, everything you've said there is correct. Like, I follow it, but I would add that even though you would say the nothingness is home, or the true state of pure self, I'd also say that everything is home as well. So it's a contrast, it's a paradox, isn't it? You are always home.
Yeah, it is.
you're
You're always
always
home. Yeah.
home, but I know exactly what you're saying, because from this unique point of
Yeah.
view that you're looking through now, you're not aware of that,
Mm.
but you are there at the same time.
Yeah.
So
And I also agree with your statement as well. You know, where separation, we know it's an illusion,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, like the hermetic principle one is all is mind and everything is mental.
Yeah.
Like it's all in the thought of whatever this source being is. We're just a thought of it, just trying to experience itself. So I fully get that. I want to ask you a side question here before I ask you my final 6 questions before we wrap things up. Is what's your understanding, Sasha's understanding currently of what is consciousness?
I think my understanding of that has shifted. I see the nothingness and the pure void as pure awareness and potential. I see consciousness as the contrast of that. I see consciousness as conscious awareness. I see consciousness as creation. Until recently, I never really understood the difference between awareness and consciousness. But now I see as awareness, which is the nothingness, the void, and I see consciousness as the contrast of that and the thing that's experiencing. So we are consciously aware right now, and when you're in the void, you're just aware. To kind of add to that, we are consciously aware in this moment, and whenever we go to any other experience, I see that just as a shift of your conscious awareness. You're just shifting from one to another. And yeah, I'll leave it there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, again, it's like there's no perfect way to say it, but at least for me, I understand what you were trying to put into words. I know what you were saying. Okay, the intention was there, and folks are listening. They know what you're picking up. I always thought about and there's so many different ways of looking at what consciousness is, right? Here's one small version among many and stuff, is that I always thought that the breath that we take is consciousness. Because when you're first born, the first thing that you take is that first breath, and then you cry, right? And then when you die, when this expires, the last thing that leaves is that last wind, right? So I think we're breathing in consciousness all the time.
Yeah.
When you pass out, what do you lose?
Yeah.
Consciousness. Right? And how do you get it back? Right? So I believe, consciousness can be a thought. It could be just, it's what we're breathing in. It's what keeps us conscious per se, So I don't know how to actually dissect that, but that's why I say that's just a version, a way to think about it, and then those that may like or align with that metaphor, that what we breathe in is consciousness, you guys can go down the rabbit hole with that. And I'll be interested for you guys to share your thoughts or your expansion on that idea in the comments below as well.
That's that's really interesting. I simplify things so much. So when I get asked a question like that, I'm just like, okay, I've got to try and think on the spot what I think it might be. But it's because this is why I simplify things when I speak, because all of these labels are so hard to kind of speak about. But what you said is interesting. So maybe, I don't know if this is what you were getting at, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But maybe the life that we're experiencing right now is consciousness. But are you kind of saying that after this life, it's not consciousness?
No. I'm saying that to have this experience, something has to fuel us, and I think that what that thing is happens to be manifested as air, as what we breathe. Life, life in our lungs and things like that. Because when we don't have that air in our body, we're out. This body just stays like this. It doesn't doesn't animate and stuff. Even when people go into a coma, you have to give them air,
Yeah.
Artificial air for them to just keep this body going. So I guess another way I could reword it would be, what animates this vessel is consciousness through air. I mean, we're not going to get into the science of like all the organs and things like that, but just in general, I look at the first and the last to like how you say, to simplify it. What's the first thing that, to have this human experience, what's the first thing that you take or need? You take in that first breath. And what's the last thing that you give? That last breath. So I look at it that, not the in-between. The in-between is the human experience, but the first and the last, I think that's how I would simplify in my mind when I think about that.
Yeah, no, that's it's definitely something to think about. I haven't thought about it like that. So yeah.
Yeah. Just something else to just think about, we can always go different ways with that. Sasha, let me ask you my questions that I ask all my guests. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer, just yours. Yep. Okay. From your experience, from your current understanding, it's just what it is. All right. So let me ask you this first one. What do you think is the ultimate purpose of life?
To experience as your true authentic self, to feel everything, to see instead of looking, to listen instead of hearing, to be fully immersed in the experience without identifying to your identity that you've created as your soul, experience as your soul.
Yeah, love it. What is your definition of God?
Oh, there's no words for it. Okay, so I'll give two. So one of them is the unique expression of source, and another is the nothingness where all potential exists.
Isn't it interesting how you've thought about what source is all the time, but when you're asked a question, it makes you think again. It's like, do I give my current answer? Is there a different answer? That's a tough one. Why do we do that, right? It's part of the human experience. We keep questioning what we think we understand, even in the present moment as we're talking.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
And
you know what God is. But every time that understanding seems to maybe shift off, like, do I still believe that, or is it something else? But you were saying something?
I was going to say that I noticed that I gave two. And the reason that I gave two is because there is two. I think you've got the self and the all, and the self within the all. And my two answers were, one of them was the self and one of them was the all. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Do you normally give two answers like that whenever someone
came through?
I love it. It's we all channel in our own way. We all bring in something. So I definitely love that. Sasha, what, in your understanding, what's love?
Love is acceptance, full unconditional acceptance of yourself without judgment.
Okay. And Sasha, if you could go back to talk to little Sasha, what would you tell him today?
That's a really nice question. I would say go easy on yourself. Trust life. Don't think about life, just experience it. Everything happens the way it should happen. Love yourself, accept yourself, be yourself, and love others, and just have fun.
Let me answer this, Sasha. This is one of the questions, but as you were saying that, did you see yourself?
Yeah.
You were talking to yourself. you were talking to that your intention, your awareness went back to whichever version of Sasha that was, and you spoke to yourself and you told them that. And whether you now or he then needed to hear that, it's been heard. So that's why I asked that question, to allow you the opportunity to talk to yourself in that manner.
That was a nice moment. Yeah,
appreciate
thank
you sharing that. Yeah, absolutely. And folks, you have the opportunity to do that anytime that you want. Go back to a time in your younger life that you were struggling. Just pinpoint it. We all have those moments. Talk to that version of you, he or she. Talk to that version of you for that moment. Whatever that may have happened. Maybe your parents yelled at you for something that you did wrong. Maybe you thought you made a mistake. Maybe there was a lost opportunity. Go back to that version of you and tell yourself what you need to hear. I'm not going to tell you what to tell yourself, but tell yourself what you need to hear in that moment, and let it be, and let it be said, and let it be heard. Okay. So you guys can do that all the time. I just want you to be aware of that. Sasha, it was a pleasure. I appreciate you connecting with me and reaching out. We're going to do a part 2 in 2026, obviously. So you and I, now that we're familiar with each other, we're going to talk about a lot more things along the way. Can you tell the audience listening how they can find you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate this. By the way, I've really enjoyed the conversation. You made me think about things I haven't thought about before. Yeah, I had goosebumps at certain moments. Good. So, yeah, before I tell people where to find me, I always say truth resonates. Don't believe me. Don't believe anyone. You're your own teacher. Your soul is your own teacher. Take what resonates and go on your own unique journey. If you want to follow my kind of online videos and online video teachings, my YouTube, as you mentioned, but my real work is within my Patreon. I've got a guide that I've created, and I've got direct access to myself with guidance, and I've got an amazing group who we're all like a family over there, and together we're all remembering. We're helping each other remember, and people don't realize, but even the smallest, or what you might think of as the smallest experiences, just help significantly. So my Patreon's where we do the real work. My guide talks about out-of-body experiences, but it's not about methods. It's really about remembrance, sovereignty, fear integration. And yeah, I'd suggest if it feels right for you, take a look at my Patreon. If it doesn't, you can follow my YouTube.
I love it. And folks, definitely go support him, see what he's doing, follow his journey. If you like this episode, if you like this conversation, connect with him and support him and on his journey. And it might trigger a journey for you as well if you're not already on one yourself. So keep that in mind. This was fantastic. And you mentioned about learning some things and made you think about stuff. This is what these conversations are all about. This is what I podcast to have the opportunity to be gifted the time and talk to folks like you, sit down, have a conversation, and then in that conversation trigger some type of remembrance, some kind of curiosity, some type of knowing, not only between you and I, but also folks that are listening back to this conversation. It resonates, it ripples, and it reaches places that you and I can't physically reach, but consciously and through this platform, we can definitely talk to a lot of people. So I appreciate, again, you being on this episode with me and talking to myself and the audience.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it too. All this is about is helping people remember and helping people step into their sovereignty. And yeah, everything that we talk about, all these little conversations just spark that resonance within someone to take that step into remembering who they are. So I appreciate this opportunity and I thank you. And I've loved the conversation.
And folks, don't forget, real simple. I have a website, beyondthefrequency369.com. You'll find everything about the show. You'll find my book. You'll find my courses on my site. I do workshops. I do individual sessions if you're interested in that. And just learn everything about what the journey is regarding this show, why I have this show, on and active, why I'm doing this. You can also connect with a lot of my previous guests who've been on there that have inspired you, encouraged you. And if you want to reach out to them, they're also on my website as well. Thanks a lot, everybody, for listening, for staying tuned, for being part of the conversation. Even though right now, as I'm talking, I'm recording this, but on the playback, I already feel your energy. I feel your love. I feel your intention. You tuned in for a reason. You tuned in for a reason, and you needed to hear this conversation. You needed to meet Sasha, and I want to hear about your experiences. I want to hear about your takeaways. Tell me what you got from this conversation. What triggered in you? What are you doing on your day-to-day to love yourself, to remind yourself that you're more powerful than the world, wants to convince you otherwise? And with that said, folks, as always, I love you. I see you. I hear you. I am you. Continue to ask questions. Don't be afraid to pull back the curtain. Push forward, always reaching beyond the frequency.